Dear students, our today's lecture is Transport of Oxygen Part 1. Before we discuss how oxygen is transported in blood, let us discuss how it will enter from alveolar air into the blood. Now you can see a diagram in which alveoli and pulmonary capillary are seen. In the last lecture, we have discussed alveolar partial pressure of oxygen is 104 mm of mercury, and the deoxygenated blood means venous blood which is entering here in the pulmonary capillary is having partial pressure of oxygen 40 mm of mercury. So according to simple diffusion, oxygen will diffuse from high concentration to low concentration. Here the difference is 104 minus 40, so it is 64. So there is a large pressure gradient. Oxygen will follow this pressure gradient and it will enter into the blood of pulmonary capillaries and equilibrium is achieved. So the PO2 of the blood will become 104 millimeter of mercury. Now what is important in this diagram is below graph. See the graph, it is showing level of PO2 in pulmonary capillary. So it is starting from 40 and gradually it is reaching up to 104. That is the equilibrium point. But note down here, only within the 1/3 of the length of the capillary the equilibrium has been achieved. In remaining 2/3 of the capillary, no further changes occur. So this is a very good protection given by the God that during extra emergency conditions like exercise, when we have need of extra oxygen, we have a reserve time of this 2/3 so that we can increase our oxygen diffusion during that 2/3 time. So when we do any exercise, what will happen on uptake of oxygen? So during strenuous exercise, person's body require as much as 20 times the normal amount of oxygen. Cardiac output is increased and the time that the blood remain in the pulmonary capillary is reduced to less than half of the normal. But as we have discussed in the graph, blood becomes almost saturated with oxygen by the time it passes through the 1/3 of the capillary. So there is no problem. And diffusion capacity also increases 3 times by opening up of new capillaries and by vasodilatation of the already open capillaries. So there is more surface area. Now this graph is showing change in the level of the partial pressure of oxygen at various locations. Let us start with venous blood. We all know in the venous blood the partial pressure of the oxygen is 40 millimeter of mercury. Now this venous blood will enter into pulmonary capillaries where oxygenation takes place. Oxygen is coming from alveolar air into pulmonary capillary by diffusion. So the PO2 will rise and it will finally become 104 millimeter of mercury. Now this blood will be returned to left atrium. But you all know in the lecture of that dead space we have discussed shunting that pulmonary veins are also carrying deoxygenated blood from the bronchial veins and it will also empty into left atrium. So there is venous admixture of the blood. So 1 to 2 percentage of cardiac output is entering into bronchial circulation. It is not oxygenated. So this deoxygenated 2 percentage of the blood will finally mix with oxygenated blood. So there will be slight reduction in partial pressure of O2 from 104 to 95. So in the systemic artery, the PO2 will be 95. Now this blood will enter into capillaries. and in the capillaries now gas exchange again takes place. So oxygen will diffuse into tissues. So again PO2 will decreases and it will decrease up to 40 mmHg. So PO2 varies from 95 mmHg in the systemic arteries to 40 mmHg in the systemic veins. Now let us discuss diffusion of the oxygen at tissue level. So at the tissue level, diffusion occurs at capillaries, systemic capillaries. So the PO2 of the arterial blood which is entering into the capillary is having partial pressure of 95 millimeter of mercury. Now between cells and capillaries there is an interstitial fluid, and this interstitial fluid has PO2 of 40 millimeter of mercury. So there is a large pressure gradient, 95 minus 40. So oxygen will diffuse rapidly from capillaries into interstitial fluid. Now in the cell, oxygen varies depending upon the type of the cell. It may be as low as 5 mmHg and it may be as high as 40 mmHg. So we are taking a middle value 23 mmHg. This is an average value of intracellular PO2. So between the interstitial fluid and the cell again there is a gradient 40 minus 23. So oxygen will diffuse from interstitial fluid inside the cells very rapidly. So in this way finally oxygen from the lungs will enter into intracellular fluid, and the venous blood which is carrying deoxygenated blood will have PO2 of 40 millimeter of mercury. Now what are the factors which will decide tissue PO2? So tissue PO2 is mainly determined by two factors. One is rate of oxygen transport to the tissues and the second is rate at which oxygen is utilized by the tissues. Now focus on the below graph. Focus on the middle red color line. So this is a normal line, normal oxygen consumption line. There are 3 points shown A, B and C. So A is our normal operating point at which our blood flow is 100% normal and interstitial fluid PO2 is 40 mmHg. Now when we increase the blood flow, now focus on point B. So here blood flow is 400% or 4 times normal. So you can see the PO2 is rising. It is around 66 millimeter of mercury. Now see the point C. If the blood flow decreases, again interstitial fluid PO2 decreases. So when you increase the blood flow, more oxygen can be delivered and PO2 can rise. When you decrease the blood flow, less oxygen can be delivered and PO2 can fall. Now there are dotted lines. One dotted line is shown above, one dotted line is shown below. So what they are indicating, so when tissues utilize more oxygen or less oxygen, then what will happen? Suppose if the tissues will utilize more oxygen due to more metabolism, see the below line, 4 times normal oxygen consumption. So you can see the PO2 will decreases with increase in the tissue blood flow. Similarly, if oxygen utilization is 1/4 of the normal, then see the above line. Here the PO2 is more because less oxygen is consumed by the tissues. So again we can tell that tissue PO2 is determined by rate of oxygen transport, or you can tell blood flow, and the rate at which oxygen is utilized by the tissues. Now coming to our main point, transport of oxygen in the blood. So in general, oxygen is transported in the blood by two ways. The main way is in chemical combination with hemoglobin. It constitutes 97% of the total oxygen transport, and it will transport 5 milliliter of oxygen in 100 milliliter of blood. The second way is dissolved state in water of the plasma and blood cells. It constitutes about 3% of total oxygen transport, and the value is 0.17 ml per 100 ml of blood. Now let us discuss a very important curve which is called oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. So what is oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve? So this curve is showing relationship between hemoglobin saturation in percentage to partial pressure of oxygen in blood. First of all, what is hemoglobin saturation in percentage? So it is the percentage of the hemoglobin which has been combined with oxygen, and PO2 is shown on the X curve, hemoglobin saturation is shown on the Y curve. Now you can see the red color line which is called oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. If you will trace the PO2 of normal value 95 in systemic artery, you can see the percentage saturation is nearly 97%. Similarly, trace the PO2 of 40 mmHg in the systemic veins, then the percentage is nearly 75%. So, the hemoglobin saturation varies from 97% in the arterial blood to 75% in the venous blood in normal resting conditions. Now we all know that in 100 ml of the blood there is 15 gram of hemoglobin. Now 1 gram of hemoglobin can combine with 1.34 milliliter of oxygen. So multiply it by 15, it will give the value of 20 ml. So we can tell that 15 gram of hemoglobin in 100 ml of the blood can combine with 20 ml of oxygen, provided hemoglobin is 100% saturated. But this is not the case. Our hemoglobin is 97% saturated. So actually in systemic arterial blood it is 19.4 ml because our hemoglobin is 97% saturated. So in 100 ml of the blood, 19.4 ml of oxygen will be there. Now if we discuss by locations, in systemic artery, the PO2 is 95 mmHg, hemoglobin is 97% saturated, and blood contains 19.4 ml of oxygen in 100 ml of blood. Now when we go into systemic vein, the partial pressure will be 40 millimeter of mercury, hemoglobin will be 75% saturated, and 14.4 milliliter of oxygen will be there in 100 ml of blood. So you can tell that 19.4 minus 14.4 is equal to 5. So 5 ml of the oxygen is actually transported from lungs to the tissues by each 100 milliliter of blood in normal resting conditions. Now what about oxygen transport during heavy exercise? Again we will start our discussion with systemic artery. Systemic artery values will be same. PO2 is 95 millimeter of mercury and amount of the oxygen is 19.4 ml in 100 ml of blood. Now in systemic veins, the PO2 will not remain 40 millimeter of Hg because tissues are rapidly using oxygen. So obviously the partial pressure of the oxygen will rapidly reduce. It may reduce as low as 15 millimeter of mercury. This is the lowermost point, and therefore the amount of the oxygen in the blood will also drastically reduced. In normal resting condition it was 14.4, but here it will be 4.4 ml only in 100 ml of the blood. So you can tell that 19.4 minus 4.4 is equal to 15 ml. 15 ml of oxygen is transported from the lungs to the tissues by each 100 ml of blood when person is doing any heavy exercise. So normal value was 5. So it is 3 times than the normal value. So when any person is doing exercise, 3 times than the normal value of oxygen can be transported to tissues. Now this is also an oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. Here on the x-axis partial pressure of the oxygen is given, and on the y-axis volume percentage of oxygen in the blood is given. The shape and the location of the curve is same what we have already discussed. Now you can see there are three dotted lines, vertical lines. So the rightmost line is showing normal arterial blood having PO2 of 95 millimeter of mercury and volume percentage of 19.4, that is 19.4 ml in 100 ml of the blood. Now the middle dotted vertical line is showing normal venous blood. In normal venous blood, the PO2 will be 40 millimeter of mercury and volume percentage of oxygen will be 14.4 ml in 100 ml of the blood. And when any person does exercise, then the leftmost dotted vertical line is shown, that is the venous blood during exercise. Here, the partial pressure of the oxygen will decrease up to 15 millimeter of mercury, and the volume percentage of the oxygen in the blood will become 4.4 ml in 100 ml of the blood. So this was all about transport of oxygen part 1. The rest topics I will discuss in part 2. Thank you.